this won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
Get some.
Florida, how do you cast your vote?
Florida is worth fighting for. That's why we're fighting back against Project 2025 and Republican extremism. We won't go back. We won't back down. I cast 4 votes present and 243 votes in the great state of Florida for the first president, first female president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good.
Donald Trump claiming victory in the early morning hours. Rick Scott winning another 6-year term in the Senate with an eye on the majority leader post. The 2 big wins at the top of the ticket translated into down-ballot wins for Republicans in state Senate and House races. That ensures Republicans have a continued supermajority in the legislature, which makes it harder for Democrats to pass bills and push their agenda.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
So we called a special session of the Florida legislature in part to focus on immigration enforcement and to assist the Trump administration in this historic effort to finally have enforcement of immigration laws and secure our country once and for all. The legislature did not want to do it. They said it was premature, but they did come in today and gavelled in on their session on immigration. We had a series of very, very strong proposals. While they included some of the things we said, most of the stuff that's really, really going to be meaningful was not in the proposal put forward by leaders of the Florida legislature, the Republican leaders. You have to have a requirement that state and local entities actively cooperate with immigration enforcement federally. Otherwise, none of this stuff is going to amount to much. They gutted the interior enforcement provisions that we had where we're all working in unison. It's not enough to just say we're not a sanctuary state, which we're not. It's not enough to just say we don't have sanctuary cities, which we don't. We need everybody on board. We got to work as a team. Otherwise, this stuff just isn't going to work. They also bizarrely strip immigration enforcement power from the governor and give it to the Commissioner of Agriculture. But agriculture has not exactly been known for immigration enforcement. So it's almost like the fox guarding the hen house. It was bizarre. I think it was more a sop to folks who want cheap labor. That is totally bad policy. That can't happen. They also bizarrely didn't include things we know needs to happen. It should be a crime for an illegal alien to register to vote. We've been trying to do this for years. Now's the time to do it. They did not include that in their proposal, which was very disappointing. And then we also need to crack down on illegal alien gangs. We had very strong provisions to do that. That was not in what the legislative leaders proposed. Now, they've named this bill the Trump Act, but that's a misnomer because President Trump's been very strong coming out of the gate on immigration enforcement. He wants to solve this problem once and for all. The bill they did is more window dressing. It is not going to solve the problem. We're not here for theatrics. We're not here to do messaging bills. The only thing we need to do is to do things that are going to actually solve the problems for Floridians once and for all. People of Florida have spoke loud and clear over many election cycles that they want to be strong on illegal immigration. We have so many great potentials to be working collaboratively with the federal government. I've been speaking with folks in the administration, but what the legislature do not only will not allow us to do it, it will actively inhibit some of the things we're already doing. So now's the time to be tough. No squishing out here. We got to get the job done.
Yeah, John, and it's very weird. I never thought that we would find ourselves in this situation where we have a war of the elephants going on in the state of Florida with the RPOF versus the FRA. And now we have a war of the elephants in Tallahassee where it's the governor versus the legislature. Very strange times we're living in, John. Very strange.
Who would have ever thought that we would put the commissioner, the woke RINO agriculture of commission of agriculture in charge of immigration? It's like putting crackheads in charge of rehab. It's like putting shoplifters in charge of the mall security. It's the most incredible backtracking of policy that I've ever seen in a supposedly Republican legislature, state legislature. It makes no sense. And you can only wonder, why would anybody ever do this? So my thoughts on there are a variety of reasons. Number one, I think that the RINO establishment of Florida would really love to see a Governor Simpson happen. They would really love to see that. I think that's, 50,000 feet, but that is best case scenario for them. It's like it would be Florida's very own Brian Kemp. Number two, it is like having the developers, right? Recently I've been reading stories about how there was an organization which is out there raising money, and they're called like the Gopher Turtle Conservatory or something like that, right? And, gopher turtles are endangered species. And if a development finds the turtle on its property that it's developing, all work halts and, whatever. And they have to resolve that problem. Well, there was a group of contractors that created an organization that was called like a Gopher Turtle Conservatory. And people were donating money to help gopher turtles, right? Not realizing that they were giving money to the developers, and then they were using that money to clear the turtles so that they could put their development up. So, that is the Florida legislature, right? Not literally, figuratively, that is the Florida legislature. So it's not that they're, bad people. It's not that they don't believe. I believe that the people in the Florida legislature, a lot of them might be with Trump. But number three, the purpose of doing all this is to push back on DeSantis, who has been an incredibly strong governor, strong-willed governor. He has bullied the legislature into doing what he wanted to do. DeSantis pretty much alone has pushed Florida very far to the right? Far more so than the legislature wanted to go to the right. In fact, you had the legislature kicking and screaming for some of those paces that they had to take to the right. So I think that it's basically like a show of force for them to try to reestablish their independence as a branch of, the government, because, you have three branches of government. And in Florida, for the past several years, we've only had two. We've had the judiciary and we've had DeSantis, right? And now that I think the legislature is trying to separate itself from DeSantis. In fact, I saw a tweet by Porras in South Florida, Representative Porras in South Florida, who literally called DeSantis a lame duck. He makes the uncouth name lame duck in that. And so, I mean, there's a tough stuff, which we're going to talk about all throughout the show, right? This is going to be the majority of the show is going to be this issue. You're going to see what they're saying. You're going to see what the law says. You're going to see what the legislature is proposing, and then you can come up with your own idea on whether you can support it or not. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and we're going to talk about it tonight. But first, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. I am former school board member John Arguello. This is my great friend, citizen Tom Lord, and this show is specifically dedicated to Floridians, to what's going on from coast to coast and from tip to panhandle, South Florida to panhandle. And we're going to talk about all the stuff that's going on. There's a lot to talk about. So we're going to do a quick prayer, then we're going to go do into the show. Lord, of all the states we could be in, how lucky are we to live in the state of Florida? These are not the worst problems in the world to have, whether we're picking between right, true conservative legislation and less conservative legislation. Thank God we're not in a state like Florida where they don't have water to fight fires, where they don't have, just an unreal lack of care for the will of the citizens. This is a state where Floridians, by and large, stand up and demand action from their leaders, elected leaders, to do the right thing. And it's much better to live in a place like this than it is to live in a state where you have no say or where the cause is lost. So we're truly grateful for that. And we hope that you continue to bless the people of Florida and the show so that we can continue to do what we do on a weekly basis here. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, let's take a look at the state, John.
Yeah.
And this is the section of the show where we cover the whole state. And real quick, John, do want to mention, and this is important, very important, that we already have our first acknowledgement that this is the Gulf of America, not the Gulf of Mexico. Florida becomes the first state, and who is surprised at that? Florida is the first state to refer to it as the Gulf of America. This happened in an executive order that the governor put out from his office, executive order number 25-13, and expressly says the Gulf of America. And not only that, but Google is also updating its maps to refer to Sinai as Mount McKinley and Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America. So it's real, it's happening, and there's no going back, I don't think, unless tries to change it in 4 years. I don't think anybody will. I don't know.
I think that this is a larger victory than we say. I mean, it's fun, right? For us, we laugh about this stuff, Gulf of America. We joke about it. It's fun. But as we said on the America show, we can appreciate that, right? I mean, it's not like it does. There's no reason for it. It does make perfect sense. Why mess with it? Why not leave it alone? I don't know. I'm not in Trump's mind, but I think it's hilarious. I love it. Of course, I prefer Gulf of America over Gulf of Mexico. And the fact that Florida is the first state that does it or that acknowledges it, as you mentioned in the prep, Google's now doing it, and it will become the Gulf of America. That's it, right? And so it's fun and it's funny. I do want to mention, by the way, between stories, where we just got in, we saw Florida Voices put it up. They called the race up there in northern Florida, Florida's Congressional District 6, that Randy Fine, State Senator Randy Fine has won that. So apparently he's no longer, at this stage, he's no longer the state senator. Now he's Congressman, United States Representative Randy Fine. So.
I mean, not a big shocker there, John. He did have Trump's
not a big
endorsement,
shocker.
I guess we'll see how he does. He has big shoes to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of big shoes to fill in Florida. I think the biggest shoe to fill is Matt Gaetz' seat.
Absolutely, that's the biggest shoe to fill.
That's the biggest shoe to fill in Florida, and right now in terms of congressional seats. And Who knows? We're going to be. There's a lot going on, right? We have Marco Rubio's. That race is going on. Those have been filled by Ashley Moody, so we'll see how she does. And then we have this governor race that's coming, which is probably people are going to leave their seats to run for that. So this is a very interesting between the election season, you know. So
I'm sure it's going to stay interesting, especially with what's going on right now, because things seem to be getting uglier between legislature and Governor DeSantis. Anyway. Yes, the Florida lawmakers rejected the special session on immigration called by DeSantis, and you got to wonder why. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. There are the two guys, that is Daniel Perez and Ben Albritton, and the Florida House and Senate openly rebuked Governor Ron DeSantis' call for a special session on immigration on Monday by defiantly rejecting his slate of bills, then adjourning and immediately to consider alternative legislation by their leader. Senate President Ben Albritton said he was not going to sit idly by and let anyone ignore the legislature's constitutional authority to legislate and write the laws of this state. A new immigration bill was introduced by Senator Joe Gruters that Albritton said embraced the spirit and letter of President Donald Trump's executive order to combat illegal immigration. The proposal would provide funding for local law enforcement to support a crackdown on undocumented immigrants and name Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson as the chief immigration officer. And I think that's the biggest problem with this thing, although there's many problems with this thing. That's the biggest problem with it, John, is Wilton Simpson. And Wilton Simpson is a scary guy for many reasons.
Hi there, everyone. No need to fear. My name is Wilton.
Yes, he's very pasty white. He's very scary. He's very sickly looking. But more scary about Wilton Simpson is who he's beholden to.
Sugar. Oh, honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you.
Yes, illegal immigration thrives in Florida thanks to Wilton Simpson. Wilton Simpson is a big believer in marijuana. He loves marijuana. He got a big boost in his campaign from medical marijuana. Actually, even for recreational marijuana. These contributions included $75,000 from True Leave and $25,000 from Certura, Florida. And he collected all this money from the recreational marijuana lobby. Also voted to give illegals driver's licenses, voted to give illegals in-state tuition, abstained from the vote allowing illegals to practice law in Florida, and supported exempting the agriculture industry from E-Verify. If you didn't think that was bad, this is from our friends at RINOs of Florida. They found this. $100,000 contribution from Robert M. Rubenstein. Now, who is this guy, John? Who is Robert N. Rubenstein? Well, he is a Miami lawyer, right? But he's also a big Democrat donor. And he hosted Barack Obama at his house the same way John Morgan did here in Orlando. So why is a big Democrat donor donating to Will?
Why would someone who hosted Barack Obama give $100,000 to a Republican commissioner of agriculture? What a great question. I have no idea. Now, we know that some donors give to both sides, but $100,000? You're going to host a fundraiser for Obama, and then you're going to give $100,000 to one Republican? It doesn't sound right to me, but I'll say this. The agriculture industry is probably the largest user of illegal immigrant workers, right? Single industry, right? Like now listen, I know some ranchers. I've had conversations about this with them before, prior, when I was running for the Senate. And I had some tell me, we don't use illegal immigrants at all. Right. And I've had others say, we do not use illegal immigrants at all. But then they gave me the wink, wink.
Yeah.
And how can maybe you can make the argument that you can't avoid it because they're not getting a sufficient number of workforce to get their product to market. And so they're at desperation. And so there's a lot of pressure in the agriculture industry, right? You want to get to the market. You want to make sure it's profitable. These are family farms. You have the pressure of developers trying to buy your land. So you got to be solvent in order to prevent the land going into the hand of the developers. And you want to keep it like a family operation for those that do. It's a very complex situation. But like our good friend Jim says, right? You can never go wrong by doing the right thing. And in this situation, Wilt Simpson, number one, Wilt Simpson certainly is to the left of me. He's to the left of the average MAGA Republican voter. He is absolutely on the wrong side of the immigration situation, whether it's because he takes money from marijuana, whether it's because he's ideologically opposed to the idea of immigration reform, whether it's because he has a vested interest as Commissioner of Agriculture to provide labor for the agriculture industry. At the end of the day, his views appear to be completely contrary to what the American people want. And you can't deny that. And so, listen, he may be a great person. Wilt Simpson may be a phenomenal person. That's the only thing I've heard about him. I know, looking at his voting record, he's already, looking at what he supports. Certainly, I'm not a big fan ideologically of his politics. But let me play this little video here by Matt Gaetz, who on yesterday, he was on the Bill Maher podcast. And I think this tells you everything about people. And this is why people like me get so upset. This is why we get up here and we seem like we're almost radical or fanatical about what's going on, is because we have, when you see behind the curtain, we're watching people on one side, on the outside, right? You're watching the Oz blow smoke, right? We're watching these people be fantastic family people. They never do anything wrong. They have great personalities. They do all the right things. They have clean records of every sort. They seem like just really respectable people. And then you wonder why they do things. Let's watch this video by Matt Gaetz.
I serve with a lot of congressmen and women who live perfect family lives, never looked the other way, never done anything other than live a purpose-driven, holy life. And they get that congressional pin on, and they go and sell out the country. And they vote for whoever gives them money, and they vote for whatever lobbyists give them attention. And then there are people who are flawed and irreverent and have tough moments that are caught on TV, but they sincerely do what they think is best for the country. And
that right there says everything about what's wrong with our politics. And let me explain something to you. I care 100% about what kind of man or woman you are when you get the job. I care far more about what kind of man or woman you are after you get the job. And just because you are a saint in the public or in your home, when you're Satan, when you are voting for policy which is going to affect the entire country, I am not a fan. And I was at Ben Albritton's assumption to the his holy assumption to the presidency of the Senate. When they made him the actual incoming president of the Senate. And I was, in all sincerity, I was very touched by what Ben Albritton said about his views on faith, what it meant to him, what friendship meant to him, what being there meant to him, how important it was for his family, and it was very moving. But at the same time, he spoke just as much about how agriculture was going to be his #1 priority. And now you have the president of the Senate rebuffing the governor of Florida as he's trying to implement actual immigration reform, as opposed to, as we saw the governor say in the video earlier, window service.
And John,
And
we have Wilton Simpson. This is the guy that they put in charge. Wilton Simpson. We put up a couple of examples of why Wilton Simpson is a bad person to put in charge of this immigration issue.
And not just the bad person himself, right? I'm talking about like
more,
the commissioner of agriculture should not be the guy who does it.
No,
whether it's
absolutely
him
not.
or somebody
You
else.
shouldn't take it away from Governor DeSantis. We could bring up many examples of why Wilton Simpson is bad, not just Wilton Simpson the person, but the commissioner of agriculture. But we also know things about Wilton Simpson that aren't out there, like that he is a golfing buddy of a prominent county commissioner here in Osceola County. That we know is a complete total RINO. There's many examples why this is bad.
Right? He's not just a RINO. He's a wreck. He's an absolute mess. He's a disaster of a county commissioner. He's a coward, and he's a bumbling fool. And then his wife is the same, and she's a state representative. And they paid millions of dollars to have her placed, not for her election. They spent millions of dollars to have her placed in the Florida House so that she would exactly just fall. And now, can you imagine the buyer's remorse that DeSantis must have for endorsing someone like Erica Booth now? And Erica Booth puts her head down and just goes with who she's told. Can you imagine the amount of confusion that she must have because she doesn't know why she gets what marching orders she does get? I mean, this is exactly what we don't want. I don't care that you're a nice lady. I want somebody who's going to put the country or the state or the community first when they raise their hand and make an oath. That's what's important to me. And we don't have that in Florida in so many cases. I can't speak for every legislator. I don't know them. You guys have heard me rave about Bernie Jacques. I think that he's not just a good man, but he's a good voter. He's a good legislator. And by good, I mean good. I don't just mean that he does what I want. He's good at it. He's good for it. And I wish they could all be that way. And I'm sure that he has to fall in line also. He's a state rep. It's not like he's on his own independent, but this is a disaster. It's a disaster for the state. And here's another thing that DeSantis must have buyer's remorse over. He allowed the Republican Party of Florida to attack FRA, which is the grassroots Republicans. If he had come out and protected the FRA, if he had aligned with the FRA, which is the grassroots, you're talking about this could be the largest organizations. Right now, every single one of those legislators would be falling in line because they know that they would lose their primaries if he didn't. Because they might have $30 million in the Senate campaigns. They might have $50 million in the House campaigns. But the fact is, if they got all the voters and you can't buy them because you don't have access to those voters, which is what they do now, they just flood the market with money and they buy these seats, then you're up a creek. And I would love to see that situation. I would love to see DeSantis right now come out in support of the FRA, come out in support of the grassroots, because right now the grassroots is falling back in love with DeSantis because he's fulfilling his promises.
Yes.
And he's facilitating the promises that Trump made.
And that's the thing, John, is that the FRA is behind Governor DeSantis in fights.
Of course, but make it a marriage.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It just can't be the FRA, being a fan of DeSantis. DeSantis has to now, come back around and protect them.
Yeah. That would be nice to see him. I hope he does. And
it does. And there was there was a hearing, right? There was a hearing. It was this morning, right, Tom?
No, it was yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, so the hearing was yesterday, and the RPOF made a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, right, Tom? Tom.
Yeah.
This is your story. You're the one that told me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the RPOF is being sued by Robin Lum and the FRA, and Robin Lum is the former state
Committee man.
Yeah, for Duval County. So they went to court. The RPOF filed a motion to dismiss. The judge did not grant them their motion. Going to go forward this lawsuit. Big win, the FRA and Robin Lum, and a major loss for the RPOF because now they're going to have to make their case. They have none.
Yeah, I think that they're. I mean, that's not the beginning or the end of the case, right? It's just a failure for them to win on their motion to dismiss. But at the same time, the hearing seemed like it went well, right? And they were trying to say, hey, we're RPOF. So, I mean, wink, wink, we're RPOF. You know, like you should be doing what we want. And apparently the judge thought, no, this is going to be done professionally and honestly, and you're going to have to win on the merits of your case. And I think that the RPOF was shocked by that. And so that's really an important change in the, you know, and how they're looking at this case, because now here you want to break RPOF. It's easy. Have every single, right? We can raise money as the FRA and give every single person $500 to go sue RPOF over what they've done. And then you're going to see like 40 lawsuits, and then they're going to have to they'll eventually combine them all. But nonetheless, I mean, you go have all these lawsuits, and they're going to lose every time. They're going to have to do something. They're going to have to fix the problem. And so I hope that they really do invest in winning this lawsuit, because it changes the entire dynamics of the state. And why, as we've said on the show 100 times, the worst enemy of the Republican Party is the Republican Party. They love to shoot themselves in the foot. They're the king of unforced errors. They're the only people. They're like the equivalent to how I make typos when I do speech to text. That's RPOF self-imposed errors. It's ridiculous.
Oh man! All right, John. So let's take a look at what Ben Albritton and Daniel Perez released as their legislation, which they're calling the Trump Act. They actually put this out here, and they call it HB 1B. Tackling and Reforming Unlawful Migration Policy Act. That's Trump Act. So they put this out here.
They wish.
They have some highlights. They highlighted some words, tried to make their case. You know, deterring, detaining, and removing, pursuing. Governor DeSantis, though, did a great job in that video that we saw that he posted to X. Showing people why this is not as great as it seems they're trying to make it out to be. But he went one step further, and he did a side-by-side comparison of what the governor had put out and what the legislature put out. And you see it right here. Law enforcement compliance in Governor Ron DeSantis' proposal. And he shows, you know, what the bait and switch is here with the legislature.
So, I mean, this, you can see here, some of these are really big. Allowing illegals to vote. I mean, why wouldn't that be a crime?
No.
Why would they prevent that? Why wouldn't they support that? Scroll up. And I imagine, you know, this is probably where they're already, because, you know, they're far ahead of us, right? They're far ahead of like the story, and they could maybe making deals with Democrats in order for support.
Yes.
You know, so it not that they need it, but you might have if the wheels come off and the poop hits the fan, and you need to have. Can you imagine Florida would be like a Texas, where a Democrat becomes a Speaker of the House in a Republican-led legislature? It's feasible. We just saw it happen in Texas. Could it happen here? I would hope not. But I mean, otherwise, why would you make some of these concessions? You know, it doesn't matter. You can be in the pocket of agriculture or developers, right? But why wouldn't you make this illegal for an illegal to vote?
Yeah.
And to protect things like that, it just makes no sense. Some of these things are just like very, I mean, it's outrageous that they would try to pass this off as the same. And they name it Trump because they want us to like it and they want to confuse the public. I hope, I mean, DeSantis has been on the warpath. And I know that the legislature recently met with Trump and, you know, because God forbid you lose the both of them, right? If you lose Trump and DeSantis, you're dead, right? They'll come in here and Trump and DeSantis will endorse a Republican primary candidate for every single one of these seats, and every single one of those seats will turn. Every single one, right? Imagine Trump and DeSantis could go and endorse a Republican for every single seat in the legislature, and every single seat would be lost to the person that's endorsed by that duo. So, I mean, I would love to see that because I like to see people fear for the job. Just like I like to see people fear God, I like to see people fear for their jobs when they're servants of the public.
Well, John, this little battle with the legislature over immigration was not the only slap in the face they gave to the governor on Monday. They also went ahead and restored more than $56 million in support services that Governor DeSantis vetoed. Yeah, it's just really, really crazy. These two guys, I don't know what they are thinking by what they're doing, but we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. So
yeah, let me take a moment quickly just to say to thank everybody who's watching. This is the most watched Florida show that we've ever had. We've had more people watch the Unsanctioned America show, but this is the most watched Florida show. Normally, I think our record holder was the Florida show before, and then recently we beat that with the America show, and now this is the most watched Florida show, Unsanctioned Florida show. So thank you so much. We love you guys. Please like and share the show, and let us know if there's anything that you want us to cover.
It's amazing what the removal of a shadow ban will do, John. So
yeah,
exactly. So yes. This is the deal. So the Florida legislature overrode this veto by Governor Ron DeSantis, reversing decision to kill funding for certain legislative operations. This marks the first time the legislature has ever overrode DeSantis in his terms as governor. And by the way, the first time in 15 years that a legislation has overrode the governor on anything. House Speaker Daniel Perez said the cuts came even as the legislature generously increased funding to the executive office of the governor by 70% over the first 6 years of DeSantis' term in office. This veto was at best a misunderstanding of the importance of the appropriation, or at worst, an attempt to threaten the independence of our separate branch of government. Whatever the rationale, this special session represents the first opportunity to correct this veto, and that's what Perez had to say. The veto override passed in the House by a vote of 111-0, and then in the Senate by a vote of 35-1. Only lawmaker to vote against the override in either chamber was Senator Blaise Ingoglia. Yeah, a Spring Hill Republican and close ally to the governor. Ingoglia is currently under consideration for an appointment as chief financial officer to replace Jimmy Patronis, who is running for Congress. Senate Minority Leader Jason Pizzo, a Miami-Dade Democrat, said the entire minority caucus was ready to high-five their colleagues over this override, but suggested there was other critical funding with bipartisan support that the governor vetoed. He noted outrage around the state after DeSantis killed $32 million in funding for arts grants. Now, this whole thing, John, is just a money grab by these guys. And, $56 million, it's quite a bit of money there. But, like you heard, John, the vote was a unanimous vote in one chamber. In the other chamber, it was just one against it. But look at who was so happy about this vote. And look at who was so happy. So the first person that was super happy was the Democratic Party chair, Nikki Fried. Florida legislature just overrode Ron DeSantis' veto of millions of dollars from the leg operating budget and gave him the middle finger for his BS special session call. Perfectly happy, Nikki Fried, right? We made her happy, the legislature. Yeah. Good job, guys. Chevron Jones, so happy to see the Florida House and Senate making it clear they will not be bullied. Wow. So, in essence, John, what we've done here is we have made a bunch of Democrats very happy. Now,
I have not seen Democrats celebrate like this since the last time I saw a Democrat watch a video of a cop getting beaten up in the street. You know, that's the only time that they get all happy, when you see the bad guy win. And that's exactly what happened here. I don't mean the bad guys in the legislatures. I mean, this was a fiscal practice. So this is what the legislature is saying. They voted, right, to put in all this money, which was unnecessary, into the budget of Florida, right? The governor vetoed it. Okay, they were fine. They didn't argue. Nothing happened, you know, but it wasn't worth saving until they wanted to prove the point that they are not under the thumb of DeSantis, right? So if they had not been fighting with DeSantis, if DeSantis was not technically a lame duck, then they would have absolutely just driven on without saying a peep, right? And the Democrats, of course, would have been continue to have been irrelevant. That's gamemanship. It's showmanship. That's it. It's theatrics. So you're telling me that in order to prove a point, you're going to spend $52 million of public money? It doesn't make any sense. These are not conservative ideals. This is not conservatism. The conservatism is doing the right thing, right? Doing the right thing with the money, being good stewards of the government. And then they're just out of control and egos. And this is, in my opinion, I don't know. I'm looking into it, right? But this is, in my opinion, you have people like the ranchers in Osceola County are a perfect example, right? And the people who own all the land in Florida, all the big ranching things that they want to develop, because for me, this is about agriculture and development. That's why this is so important, right? Because what other industry uses illegal immigrants? Construction, right? And who else is buying up the land and needs the labor? Construction. So this is the developers and this is the landowners who have already been working together to make an unbearable housing situation in Florida now create an unbearable immigration situation. And it's just, this is not the right thing for the state of Florida. It's a shame that these people are exposing themselves for being one of two things: either an ego-driven pseudo celebrity politician, or beholden to the corruption of the landowners and developers of Florida, who have already too much in control of the driver's seat.
I agree more, and I think that developers, agriculture, want these immigrants to work on farms, to work on our construction sites, cheap, reliable.
And yeah, and I'm not the guy that comes out and says they're all rapists or anything like that. That's not it. Listen, we need labor. We need labor. Anybody who's in business knows that you need labor, right? I mean, I struggled as a former CEO. I struggled in my company to have good labor, right? And I was a specialty contractor. And again, contractors are the ones that use illegal immigrants. I did not, okay? But I had friends in the industry that did. And, labor is a struggle. So the question is, do you do the right thing, even though it may hurt a little bit, to create the right economic circumstances which reward all the American citizens? And that's what we have to do, right? Because now you can't even find a 15-year-old that knows how to swing a hammer. It would be okay having a bunch of 18 to 24-year-olds paying for college by being in construction jobs. That's an okay situation to me, right? It's an okay situation for me for people to be, instead of working at McDonald's or selling their bodies on OnlyFans, to be in the jobs in agriculture. Maybe if they want to pick strawberries, but certainly there's all kinds of jobs that can be had, or innovations that can be made to industries to address these problems that don't have to do with selling the soul of the United States. And on top of that, they're emptying their prisons. We saw what happened with Colombia. We talked about it on the show a couple of days ago, where, you know, all of these people from Colombia, they were criminals from Colombia. They did have records in Colombia, right? They had records. And so they sent them back. And I don't have any problem with that. By the way, that reminds me, this is a little bit off topic, but I thought it was so great, I thought I'd share it. Did you see the video, Tom, of the new press secretary answering the question? Somebody was trying to object to the immigration stuff that's going on. And their question was, can you give me a percentage, or how many of the illegal immigrants that were arrested over, since I think the 3,500 that were arrested so far, how many of them were criminals? And the press secretary said, all of them. They're illegal aliens. They came here illegally, so all of them. I thought that was a great line. And she was like, I know that wasn't the case previous, but that is the case now. And so, I mean, it's the truth. There's nothing better than having truth. Now, does that mean they're bad people necessarily? No, it doesn't. But we're not going to lie anymore about reality in order to make some imaginary group or special interest feel better about it, including the developers or landowners.
Well, John, you know, we did say that it was getting uglier, and you just brought up lies. Well, Senator Albritton and Daniel Perez are calling the governor a liar now, and they released a joint
This
statement.
is incredible. Listen, hold on. Let me take another break. Listen, hold on. We are this close. We are this close to breaking the record from our most watched Unsanctioned America show. So please like and share the show. Let's see if we can beat that record tonight. That's pretty cool that so many people are on. This is obviously an extremely important issue to Floridians. It's an extremely important issue to the United States, and we're glad that we're covering it.
Absolutely. So yes, they released a joint statement. Albritton and Perez called what the governor was saying a blatant lie about their bill. They call it the Trump Act, of course. They criticized DeSantis' plan to punish law enforcement officials who didn't comply with federal immigration enforcement. This is a blatant lie about the Florida law enforcement officers who are on the front lines protecting our communities from criminal illegal immigrants each and every day, said Perez, a Miami Republican, and Albritton, who's from Chula. He's a Republican. So, of course, law enforcement is our partner, not our enemy. No wonder the governor's law enforcement statement clearly suggests he doesn't trust the boots on the ground, but the fact that they would say something
boots
like
on the ground.
No.
Wait. The boots on the ground. What boots on the ground is he referring to? Listen, I know that the sheriff of a county is not boots on the ground. The sheriff on the county is in that jet at 30,000 feet. He's not the boots on the ground. The boots on the ground. Who is that? The only boots that you need to concern yourself are the boots of the grassroots Americans, because it doesn't matter, even if they're wrong. They have a will, and you're supposed to obey that will. They vote you to represent them. And if the will of the United States citizens, if the will of Floridians is to do X, Y, and Z, then you do X, Y, and Z to the best of your capacity in the best way that you can, using your best judgment. What you don't do is A, B, C, and then gaslight, and then call the governor a liar. I mean, it's just complete. You know, these are the things that people have complained about. I mean, that's more over the top than anything I've ever said as a school board member that made me so unsanctioned. You know, I never called anybody a liar unless they were actually lying. The governor's not lying about these things. The governor is telling the truth.
Well, you know,
and they may be telling the truth too.
But John, that they say in this is that they're criticizing the governor for criminal penalties for law enforcement officers that do not go along with the federal immigration officer, ICE officer. So are they saying that these law enforcement officers decide not to go along with ICE, that they should face no penalty whatsoever? that they should be okay, and that's all right. You know what I mean? We're not going to comply with ICE, and that's okay. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, you're either on board or you're not on board. And if you're not on board, then say that you're not on board so that people can vote accordingly, right? So if this is there's a lack of dishonesty. I don't think it's coming from DeSantis in this situation. The lack of dishonesty is coming from people who are afraid to abandon the relationships that they've built to get where they are because that's what they depend on. And they're used to being aristocrats, in my opinion, because that's what they act like. You know, they all act like aristocrats. There's a lot of them I know, a lot of them I'm acquaintances with, some of them I'm friends with, some of them I'm very fond of. But even the ones that I really like, with the exception of a handful, they act like they're aristocrats. And I think that that's really what they get used to, instead of doing the right thing. And why would you sacrifice that? Because look at Anthony Sabatini. He's the perfect example, right? Anthony Sabatini, I think that Anthony Sabatini was like in a rocket to the moon, right? His career. And why was it? It was because he was fighting with these guys all the time and whatever. Now, personally, they may not have had a problem with Anthony Sabatini. Ideologically, they may have agreed with Sabatini, but at the same time, they didn't like being embarrassed, right? And they didn't like anybody who was ahead of the pack, right? So you make a pack to get rid of the guy that's in front of the pack, you know? And then they, you know, I mean, they came against him in a big way, and they still do. And look what's happening now. Sabatini is one of the people who's leading the charge, saying, you guys need to address this immigration problem. You guys need to do what the governor is saying, and he's calling them out. Nobody likes to be called out, but at the same time, as an American, just as a citizen, I don't like being gaslit. I don't like being lied to. I don't like being, you know, ignored. I don't want my will to be. I'm a voter. I have a right to express my things. Look, right now, what happened? That dirtbag, greasy lobbyist, Anthony Pedicini, is suing me. Right? Filed a lawsuit. At least that's what I hear through the grapevine. I haven't been served, but I mean, these guys are nothing but. Some of them are just gangsters. Some of them might be nice, but some of them are just gangsters. Just do the honest thing. We have a chance right now because there's no competition from the left. So do the right thing. It's not all the people that they're still going to have to treat you like aristocrats. Their lobbyists are still going to have to give you money. Everybody's going to have to give you whatever you want because you're still in control. So why can't you do the right thing? I mean, just do the right thing. Everybody still has to kiss your ass on a daily basis. Don't worry about it. Stop being a bunch of chickens.
Well, we're going to see what comes of this, John. There's probably more to come. I'm sure of it. We've spent about an hour talking about this.
Wow. Yeah, let's move along.
Let's move
okay,
along
so there's
from
other
this,
things.
But anyway, we definitely stand behind the governor in his fight against the out of control legislation.
And let me repeat, the governor needs to stand with the FRA and with grassroots MAGA voters too. If he wants to win this fight, it's going to be through them, and he needs to get them on board. He needs to involve the FRA. He needs to make sure that the RPOF is doing the right thing. So I think that this could be a happy outcome, but he's got to do the right thing, and it may not be very comfortable, but he's got to do it anyways.
So one other thing that happened, and we mentioned her a little bit earlier on, was that Nikki Fried got reelected as the Florida Democratic Party chair.
Oh,
this is
boy.
amid its
So
lowest
ReFried
point
Nikki.
in years.
Well, Nikki Fried has been reelected as chair of the Florida Democratic Party today. The state executive committee met to elect new officers for the next 4 years. With 78% of votes cast on the ballot, Nikki Fried secured another term at the helm. She was first elected chair back in February of 2023.
Yes. I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome there, John, to be honest.
I think everybody's on board with this. The Democrats want her. The Republicans want her. The RINOs want her. The MAGA voters want. Everybody wants ReFried Nikki to be the chairwoman of the Democrat Party, and we're all going to send her congratulatory cards.
I don't think anybody's sad that Nikki got reelected. Done such a great job. Great work, Nikki. All right, so this was a interesting story that came out, John. Former Clay County elected official arrested in sexting operation accused of attempting to age
Man, it's terrible.
boy.
Clay County Soil and Water Conservation District is facing charges.
Deputies say he was trying to meet with a teenage boy. Ted Clark was arrested during a sex sting operation. News4JAX reporter Brianna Brownlee joins us live from Orange Park, and Bree, authorities say he didn't deny the claims.
That is true, and we actually just came from speaking with neighbors of Clark. A lot of them said that they were shocked by hearing the news, and they said they have been noticing police coming in and out of his home and removing different items. Now, according to police reports, they did say that Clark admitted to everything once he was arrested and said that he has a preference for children because of pornography. Now, the police report also states that Clark actually found the teenager on a website called Sniffies. Investigators say Clark thought he was messaging a 14-year-old and acknowledged it many times, yet still pursued meeting up with the teen. Court documents reveal some of the messages exchanges between the two. Some texts read, "So your parents won't be home? That's crazy. And hopefully not too old for you." Along with the sexually split messages, Clark agreed to meet with the teen at a location and was then arrested by the Nassau County Sheriff's Office. The Clay Soil and Water Conservation District sent News4JAX this statement. The Clay Soil and Water Conservation District is deeply troubled to learn that our former chair, Harrison Ted Clark, was recently arrested as part of a sting operation in Nassau County. The district was blindsided by this information several hours after former Supervisor Clark had emailed his notice of resignation Friday afternoon. Former Supervisor Clark's actions in no way reflects the code of ethics by which the district operates. We stand ready to assist with any investigational efforts that may be needed by our district. And we also did learn that Clark's mother serves on the school board here in this county. So, of course, he is still being held on a $90,000 bond, and this is still developing. So we will update you once we learn more. Reporting live from Orange Park, Brianna Brownlee, Channel 4.
No, he is a Democrat, and they did say that his mother is a school. But makes you wonder how much access he had to kids.
Yeah, I mean, these stories are always tragic, and I don't know what it is that they are. You know, this is all part of that agenda. When you sexualize materials in school, you know, the people who stand for that are standing for this, right? And you said it in prep. If the next thing in the whole LGBTQ plus, et cetera, the next thing that was going to happen was normalization of pedophilia and child victimization, and it's just disgusting.
Absolutely, we saw it coming, John,
and a shame.
We
saw
the signs. We saw the signs
it.
coming in 4 years of the Biden administration, especially in the last 2 years, middle parts. You saw a lot of this coming. You saw different signs that this was on the way, that this direction they were headed. And I can guarantee you, if we had years of Kamala Harris, that become normalized and accepted amongst the Hollywood elites and like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Try and normalize it, public.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly what would have happened.
This is another Democrat, so there we go.
I mean, it's not common. I mean, what do you think? I mean, these guys love to read pornography to kids, and I mean, what did you expect? I mean, this shouldn't be shocking. I think that we saw in one video, in one of the stories. Well, go ahead. Let's move on, because I think it was from one of the future stories.
All right. Well, this is crazy, but you know, we keep hearing about how safe the elections are. Well, no, they found this guy, a non-citizen. That's what they call him. Illegally voted 6 times in U.S. elections.
A UK citizen faced a judge today for allegedly voting illegally in 6 elections. James Ross Whiteman was arrested Friday in Miami Beach. Authorities allege he falsely claimed U.S. citizenship to register and cast ballots in multiple local and national elections as recently as last year. He is being held on $15,000 bond.
Now, that's just one guy that they caught. That's just one guy they caught. Imagine how many
who
people
voted
they haven't
6
caught.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the most offensive thing I think that has ever happened in my life. A British guy voting in our elections illegally.
Yeah.
I would rather have the Colombian drug dealer that we just deported vote in our elections than a British guy, a British liberal voting in our elections. There's something about the British, you know, their country went from being our greatest and most longstanding ally to it being a place where people who don't like your Facebook post can have you arrested over it. I mean, I'm not surprised by there being a dictator in Colombia or anywhere in Latin America, but I never thought that I'd see the day where the UK would be have like some kind of laws against free speech like this. It's just terrible. And this is terrible, but I'm not surprised. Like you said, we knew that this was happening. We knew that this was happening.
This is just the one guy they caught. How many others do
Yeah.
they not catch that are voting in our election? But yeah, John, great point you brought up about England. England is so woke and their borders are so porous right now that they have been taken over.
Yeah.
By radical Islamists.
Yep.
I couldn't even imagine going to England. I'd always thought when I was younger that maybe I would take a trip to language. Be interesting to see.
Easy.
yeah, but no, I would never go there. Never. Sorry. No interest whatsoever. All right, John.
Yep.
So this guy here thought it was funny to make threats to kill President Trump online, but not so funny, John.
Man's been arrested for allegedly making threats posted on Facebook to kill President Trump. A tip to the FBI led investigators to the suspect, and West Palm Beach police arrested him Friday night. Investigators say Shannon Atkins admitted making those posts, but he claims he was joking.
Folks, this is not a joke. Nothing of that sort is a joke. We notified the Secret Service.
Yeah, not a joke. Not a joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke. You threatened the president, you would have gotten arrested. It doesn't matter if it was Biden or anyone else. Especially for me, maybe I would have been like in previous years, I would have been like, come on. I mean, was that a really serious threat or not? But there have been attempts on the life of the president at this point. I don't care. It's just like making a bomb threat at school. You don't do it. You should be arrested. You don't take weapons to school. You don't talk about the president in some kind of violent manner, or you should be arrested.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing about this, not the end of this story, you believe that there is a group of people trying to get this guy out of jail.
Yes, I believe it. It's got to be Democrats.
Group of supporters are calling for his release on social media with the hashtag #FreeShannon. West Palm Beach police announcing Shannon Atkins' arrest on Saturday.
Folks, this is not a joke.
Police say they received a tip from an Okeechobee man reporting threats against President Trump on social media. Friday, the 46-year-old Atkins was arrested for what police called a violent series of threats. Police also found 3 bags of cocaine on Atkins during the arrest.
It made me very sad because I feel like they are bogus charges.
Rochelle Young is defending Atkins, saying he makes many jokes on social media.
He
is talking about the 3 bags of cocaine,
likes to, make people laugh. He wouldn't hurt a fly, and it hurt a lot to see him behind bars like that.
Facebook group sharing a post with this image and the hashtag #FreeShannon. Another friend tells us Shannon is many things. Chef, artist, performer, big mama. A terrorist is not. not one of them.
For one, I didn't personally see a threat. Two, whatever happened to freedom of speech?
While friends are calling for Adkins to be released, police add the posts he allegedly made were no joke.
In today's climate, you really can't say things like this. We have incident after incident, example after example of when these threats become real. And we take these very seriously.
Adkins is being held on no bond, and the Secret Service will determine if he will face federal charges.
There you go. But the thing is this, even if he doesn't face federal charges, he had 3 bags of cocaine on him. That's a felony. I mean,
I don't know how much cocaine was in the bag.
Shannon, hashtag free Shannon. Shannon had 3 bags of cocaine. He's not going to be free anytime soon. Anytime soon.
I mean, I think what's funny to me is that they're like, this reminds me of the videos where somebody says like, oh, come on, he was just stealing something. He was just robbing the store. I mean, he didn't kill anybody. He was just robbing the place. This is ridiculous. I mean, the guy had coke on him. Free Shannon. We should start our own hashtag, like keep Shannon locked up.
They said,
and I don't care. Here's the thing. In all seriousness, whatever the charges are with the cocaine, whatever, let it work itself out. I don't have any opinion about it. But the threatening the president, at the very least, it merits the arrest, and then let the police do the investigation. If it was just a joke and they don't want to file charges, fine. But put the guy in jail. Go check it out. Don't take anything for granted, because God forbid this be the guy who actually were to assassinate, or anybody else who made a threat and the police just waved their hands the way that Secret Service did when, people were actually shooting at the president.
Absolutely. There needs to be a price paid when you make a threat like that, especially had multiple attempts on President Trump's life. Something has to happen. I still can't get over the fact that they said he was a chef, an artist, a performer, and a big mama. Big mama.
I don't know. I guess it makes sense for a Democrat. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I
guess, who knows? This next story is really crazy, and I guess it speaks for itself, John. Florida principal charged after booze-filled party with 100 teens thrown at her home. At her home, John. Watch this.
School principal and a 3rd grade teacher. This all stems from a rowdy house party with more than 100 teens in Brevard County.
Fox 35 was the only station there as police were outside that principal's house today. And Fox 35's Chancellor Wynn is live in Cocoa Beach tonight. So, Chancellor, the community is in shock over these arrests.
Yeah, John Luann, we've been speaking with parents from Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School. Those lights actually right there are the ones lighting up the school's parking lot. Now, those parents tell me they're shocked a bit, but not entirely, about the arrest of a teacher and a parent from this school. This is Roosevelt Elementary School. Now, again, it's a teacher and the principal of this school have been arrested. A father telling me nothing really surprises him anymore, but a mother speaking out says she's beginning to question her trust in educators.
To know that these kinds of things are happening is terrifying.
An underage house party at a Brevard County principal's home ends with first responders treating a heavily intoxicated juvenile in the front yard.
Elizabeth Hill Brodigan was seen by an officer at the top of her driveway, who then returned inside her residence and turned out the outside lights, causing the EMS workers to not be able to see to treat the juvenile.
Hill Brodigan is the principal at Theodore Roosevelt Elementary School, and Cocoa Beach police say around 100 kids were partying at her home on Sunday night and drinking alcohol that was available in coolers throughout the house. A nearby traffic stop landed one juvenile in jail, charged with a DUI.
They're the most precious things to you, your children, and you're trying to raise them well, and then they have this influence in their life. It's it just breaks my heart.
Police say a Theodore Roosevelt Elementary School teacher, Carly Anderson, was also at the party, intoxicated.
These kids, they trust teachers, they trust the administrators, and when you have someone betray that trust and lead these kids down a path like that, it's sad and scary all at the same time.
A mother of 2 Brevard Public School teens says this is something she never expected in her school district. Hill Brodigan is facing charges of child neglect, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and holding an open house party, while Anderson has charges of child neglect and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Now, detectives say they've interviewed nearly 100 kids from throughout the county, and the kids at the party were as young as 13 years old.
Wow, John.
Tom, shame on you, Tom. Shame on you. Not just because you've probably been to those parties when you were a kid, but because you did not have the clip from Saturday Night Live where it has that guy, what's his name? Peterson, where he's talking about having slept with his teachers, and they're asking him what was this experience like, and he's like, awesome. And they're like, did they call you names, your classmates, for this? Were they bullying you? And he was like, yeah, they called me like Awesome Meister, the king, of campus, and Okay, listen, this is a story of the cool mom gone way wrong. I don't know what she was thinking. This is 2025. And this isn't about having a couple of kids and parents and a kid sneaking a beer. You got coolers of alcohol throughout the house with 100 kids? How did you not expect the cops to end up there?
No, this is a case of these teachers and the people probably ugly duckling. And they want to relive their youth with these youth. Outrageous. I'm glad that they're paying a price. Hopefully these will never be in public education ever again. I'm more concerned about the teachers that are molesting. That's what I was expecting to hear about. That's for sure.
You weren't invited to the parties.
No invite for me.
That's pretty funny, man. This is not the world where you invite 100 kids to get drunk at your house. I don't know what she's thinking as an educator. So much at risk. In that story, I kept holding my breath, waiting for you to say that there was another teacher in the who was having sex with a student there. That was the only thing that's missing in this story. So thank God at least that didn't happen. But I mean, listen, public education is out of control. Who knows if that's going to come out later?
You know what I mean? Who knows if that's going to come out later?
Knows?
And
who
you have
knows?
to think, John, if she's willing to host a party with a bunch of teens as young as 13 years old in her home with coolers of alcohol lined throughout the house, to say that she's not doing other things with these shouldn't be doing.
I mean, that's why as an educator, as an adult, you would never do it, right? Like, God forbid anybody even have the reason to suspect for a moment that you are one of these monsters that's taking advantage of kids. It's grossly irresponsible. It's just incredible. It's incredible.
It almost relates to some of the things we talked about in the prior segment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where things were going if down that path, and we have this course correction.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And as much as we joked about it at the beginning, this is a serious story. And at the end of the day, as a parent, as you have to decide, is public education where you want your kid? Because this is a gross irresponsibility. And when you have the principal of a school throwing a party for 100 kids with alcohol, you have to question, I mean, how much control? What's the judgment? What's judgment are they using at the schools? Because look at everything bad happens in public school. There's a lot of great things happening at public school. I don't say it's all the teacher's fault, but it's the risk, right? It's the risk involved. There could be 1,000 teachers, but there's just one pedophile, one predator there looking for a child. Would you put your child in that situation? I would not. I wouldn't. I don't take risks like that. You can blame the PTSD on me or whatever, but I do not put my child in situations where they're in danger.
Well, John,
I try
one
not to, at
person
least.
that surprised me with this, and I was kind of surprised by it. Florida sheriff disagrees with Trump pardons, says cop attackers should get away with it. And that Florida sheriff is Sheriff Grady Judd.
President Trump's first acts in office was to pardon all of the defendants connected to the January 6th Capitol riots.
That decision causing mixed feelings in lawmakers and law enforcement, and one local sheriff says he does not agree with it. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says while he does support President Donald Trump, he believes he should have reviewed each case individually. Of the nearly 1,600 accused rioters, 8 are current or former Polk County residents. 3 of them are accused of assaulting police officers outside the Capitol.
President has the authority to unilaterally pardon all of them, and he didn't. But I can never support pardoning or commuting the sentence on people who beat on cops, who strike cops, who physically not only resist them, but get them down and batter them.
Sheriff Judd says he remains excited about President Trump's calls to strengthen immigration enforcement.
Now, John, I like a lot of the things that Grady Judd has to say. I like his press conferences, kind of fun. But for him to make this blanket statement and say that beyond cops, I'm pretty sure that anyone that beat on a cop that day went to jail for that reason, not for that day. I find it hard to believe that their sentence was by President Trump. But I didn't see the camera footage that we saw. Of course, we didn't see everything.
You know what?
We just saw
Wait.
camera footage. I didn't see any cops getting beaten on.
I get outraged by this thing. By the way, we are like, it keeps creeping up. The number keeps creeping up. We're so close to beating the record of the number of viewers. We appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Okay, I agree with you. I think a lot of the things that Grady Judd does are great. He's a great law enforcement guy, right? I mean, that's sure. But number one, I don't like his actions on red flag laws. I think that was completely insane. I don't know. You can't be America sheriff and be a hawk on red flag laws. Number one, that's not what we're talking about tonight, though. But number two, this guy, what Grady Judd should be doing is talking about arresting the people who instigated that situation, right? Which is the federal government. It was employees of the federal government that made that happen. And he should be talking about Nancy Pelosi. He should be talking about the FBI members. Listen, if the cops caused the problem, then how are you going to blame the people that react to it? If it's cops who are encouraging people to break in, how are you going to ensure? It's entrapment in a regular situation. If there's an undercover cop and the undercover cop is like, hey, break in, come on, break in, and they move the barriers for you to come in, you're not going to get charged with that crime. And then with the people going in and there's chaos, it creates a riot and nobody knows what's going on, but the cops are causing it. I mean, it's entrapment. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying that this is a situation that merits those pardons. I don't care what Grady Judd says about this. I think that he's completely wrong. You cannot gaslight the American people, put them in jail. Some of them were in solitary confinement. Some of them were in jail for a very long time without their proper due process. It's BS. It's BS. And I know that a lot of people love Grady Judd, and I'm sure people are going to reach out to him and be like, oh, Grady Judd's the greatest in the world, blah, 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 whatever. You know what? Red flag laws don't allow him to be the best in the world, number one. And number two, even the best in the world make mistakes. So to me, that's a mistake. I get it. You're trying to be a tough cop. Me too. You beat a cop. Listen, people come and they will fight with a cop. You'll see like videos of people fight with a cop, and then a cop will hit him over the head with a billy club. I don't shed tears over that stuff. Okay. I'm like, I don't care. You hit the cop, it's coming to you. You're about to get the pain, the can of whoop ass on you, and I don't feel sorry for you. But January 6th is a whole different story. They manipulated the people. If you scream fire in a theater and people rush out and you're gonna look at the person who actually stepped on somebody else's toes, or are you gonna go get the guy who screamed fire in the theater? So I mean, keep your eye on the prize on this situation. This is not about trying to gaslight Americans and be like the sheriff of January 6th. This is about being what's right. This is basically a treasonous act, a big theatrical display of the weaponization of government. And forget it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what kind of sheriff you are. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're an FBI agent. It's FBI agents who are part of the deep state and a big problem in this country right now. So, I mean, talk about them. If you're going to talk about the mistakes of one guy, let's say that's true. Everybody who hit or got into a fight with a cop, got arrested. When are the FBI agents who caused that to happen? When are the informants who caused that to happen? When are they going to go to jail? I want to know that first, and then we can talk about the people who stepped on a cop's toes or whatever, especially after they've been lying and saying that cops died on that day.
Yeah, there's been a lot of lies told about that day. So much so that you don't know what to believe except for what you see. And a lot of the video footage, like I said, that we saw shows federal agents letting people into the. I didn't see a lot of footage of any cops being beaten on or anything of that nature. Who knows? I agree with Grady Judd. If you beat on a cop, I can't support. Yes, you should. But when you're talking about 50 J6 protesters, and we don't know exactly what they were in jail for, I think it's irresponsible.
Before you say something like this, at least tell the American people the truth about what happened in every respect. I mean, then I'd be fine. If you were like, oh, this guy came in here, he found a cop, he hit the cop over the head, they got into a big fight over it, he busted the cop's nose or whatever. I don't care. He didn't have to cause him any injury. He fought with a cop and it was, whatever. But if you're talking about January 6th as a whole, nobody knows what happened. And as long as nobody knows what happened, I mean, when that happened, he knows. He's a sheriff. If there's a big confusing thing and the cop had a part to play, you go to trial with the cop making a whole bunch of mistakes or entrapping them, that guy's going to go free anyways. So, I mean, why would you expect anything more in this situation?
I'll just say this. As Grady Judd said that President Trump should have looked at each individual case before he did the pardons, I think that Grady Judd should have looked at each individual case before he opened his mouth and made that statement.
Oh, great point. I agree 100%. We can leave it at there. That's the perfect statement. 100% right. You're 100% right.
So, wouldn't you know, John, another Democrat goes down.
What did they do?
Child porn charges. Orange County Democratic Party treasurer arrested. Child porn. Guy right here. Wonderful. This press release was dated on January 17th. The U.S. Attorney's Office, based in the Middle District of Florida, stated that Inman, 39, was arrested on charges of transportation of child sex abuse material, where it was alleged that he had videos of children being abused on his smartphone and that he expressed interest in being with a fictional 9-year-old boy. According to the complaint, between August and October of 2020, Inman and saved several videos of this material to his phone. Videos depicted adults assaulting young children. In October of 2024, Inman traveled to Las Vegas, Nevada, and began talking online with an undercover law enforcement officer posing as the father of a 9-year-old. During this conversation, it expressed interest and, assaulting this reported child. He also sent these videos to the undercover officer. Anyway, according to the complaint, when the FBI went to his home with a search warrant, Inman allegedly tried to delete the videos from his smartphone and hide in the attic of his house. Inman was arrested by the U.S. Marshals, and he is currently in the Seminole County Jail with no bond. Inman was a treasurer with the Orange County Democratic Party, which stated that members were appalled by the news and they have suspended him.
Right.
He was
They're
also
appalled.
He was also president of the Rainbow Democrats, an organization for gay, bisexual, and transgender people. The organization has suspended him as well. John, we talked about on the last Florida show, the owner of the Southern Nights gay bar got arrested for the same thing as this guy right here. What a coincidence.
So this guy, we talked a lot about these monsters tonight, but they're saying that the Democrat Party is saying that they're appalled. I mean, how stupid is that? How stupid that the Democrats are going to pretend to be appalled. So reading pornography to little kids in their libraries is one thing, but having sex with them is something completely different. No, this is, it's basically flirting with the idea. What the Democrats have proposed and what the Democrats are okay with in our libraries, it's flirting with the idea that this guy, of what this guy got arrested for. And I hope that he goes to jail and never comes out. And I hope that he's a sufferer of abuse for the rest of his life in jail while he's there. And, every Democrat that comes out and they protect and they defend this disgusting pornography in schools and just the sexualization of our children, I hope the same thing happens to them eventually. And I wouldn't be surprised when they get caught or if they get caught. I would be completely just wishing them the same result as this guy.
So it's like I had said, and we had talked about, John, this was the next step in the evolution of the LGBT agenda. Normalize this type of behavior. I think we're seeing it come out, with these arrests that keep happening, that where it was headed. Where it was headed, without a doubt.
This is not about gay people either. It's not like these are not the gay guys of the past, right? This is a mental illness. And the Democrats have said, as long as you say you're gay or trans or this or that, it's okay to do these things. There's no holds barred, right? This is not about a sexual preference anymore. This is about the Democrats telling you that you can be as mentally ill as this guy apparently is, right? And get away with it as long as you say you're gay. And can you imagine being a gay guy and now you have to be in a boat with all of these other crazy people who the only thing that they can't wait to abuse a child? I mean, it's a tragedy to the gay community, in my opinion, that this is happening. And it's a lot of a lot of it is due to the leftist gay agenda, not just gay people, there's a lot of gays that are like, man, keep this away from me. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of this. I don't want any part of that. And they get dragged in by this crazy agenda of the left.
They have lumped normal gay people, these people that believe they are dogs and they are cats, and believe that if they chop off their nuts, now they're a woman. This is what they have done, and they try to make it even away from God. I mean, and that's what it is. The further we
really,
away from
that's
God,
at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Perverse and sick things get. That's what all along.
And it's excusable because you don't have to have a conscience. If there's no God, there's no reason for your conscience. So, whatever you can get away with, and politicians are the king of that. Whatever you can get away with, right? So.
All right, John. So it's that time again. We're going to take it home to Osceola County.
Come on, guys.
It's been a little quiet in Osceola County, but I have a couple of things to talk about that's happening. First up, Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez is fire one. This time it is for this man that was set on fire by a taser. He is suing sheriff and deputy over saying that it's I don't know. Watch this.
Fiery scene behind us, well, you're not going to see right now, is what led to a new lawsuit this week against the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. Now, in this particular case, a motorcycle rider was tased while he was soaked with gasoline, but the attorneys say it goes much deeper than one case.
Fox 35's Manny Martinez is live in the studio tonight. So, Manny, the lawsuit claims the sheriff's office used immense resources to crack down on bikers for minor traffic violations.
Yeah, it's all laid out, Luann, in this 29-page lawsuit just filed in federal court. It alleges Sheriff Marcos Lopez encouraged and ratified excessive use of force, adding the sheriff even broadcast that message with videos like this one online. As this video shows deputies chasing dirt bike riders in Osceola County. Attorneys say a culture within the sheriff's office that prizes spectacular, punitive uses of force, even for minor offenses, is on full display.
Zero tolerance. We're out here. We've already got 2 motorcycles running, popping wheelies, breaking the law.
The cop-style video with slow-motion shots, action music, and thermal aerials of a canine takedown is titled Busted by the Sheriff. It stars Sheriff Marcos Lopez himself. Here he is running after a suspect.
We're going to come after you. We're going to chase you down. We're going to arrest you and book you in the kind of jail.
The video is still up online. It was posted several months before deputies chased Gian Barreto on his motorcycle in February 2022. The chase ended at a gas station with Barreto lit on fire as he was filling up his bike. He was tased by a deputy while laying in a pool of gasoline. Barreto now has burns covering 75% of his body. The chase followed a report of an aggravated assault by someone on a motorcycle. During the criminal trial involving one of those deputies, we learned deputies were notified during the chase Barreto was not their assault suspect. 2 months ago, the deputy who fired his taser was acquitted by a jury of any criminal negligence. Now that same deputy, along with 3 others, plus the sheriff and the sheriff's office, are all listed as defendants. Attorneys are asking for punitive damages and demand a jury trial. We have reached out to the sheriff's office for a response. We are still waiting to hear back tonight.
And you'll probably be waiting a long time before you hear back from the sheriff's office. But, really, is a dirt bike street legal? Can it be street legal? Because I don't think it can. I mean, and regardless,
I think that there
yes,
are
the guy got burned, and it's sad. It sucks. I feel bad for the guy. But, number one, you should not be riding a dirt bike on, I mean.
No, listen. These motorcyclists know that they're doing stuff wrong. It's super clear. They know that they're doing the wrong thing. They think that they're going to get caught. They don't expect to get caught on fire, right? They just expect to get caught, but or to get away. And this is obey the law, man. This is so stupid. This is like one of those FAFO situations. What do you think is going to happen? This is the problem with youth in general, is that you think that nothing is going to ever happen, right? That's why it's just, believe me, I've seen the consequences of this. Young soldiers are the worst at this. Especially ones that have deployed, gone to war, make it, then they come back. They think they're absolutely invincible, and you do all kinds of stupid things. At the same time, I think that this is really stupid of the sheriff. It's not maybe stupid, but I think it's silly of the sheriff that he is documenting things like this. It's basically a commercial. This is a promo. It's, I think that's not police work, right? Filming these commercials and trying to make yourself a pseudo celebrity, that's not police work. And instead of having a camera guy follow you around and make these videos, why not have an extra cop on the beat, right? I mean, it's just, this is dumb.
They are entertaining though, John. They are entertaining.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, this is entertainment the way that gladiators were entertainment for the Roman people, right? It's dumb.
No,
it's dumb. Don't make it. Are you serious or not? You can't wage between. Yeah. Are you a sheriff? Or are you trying to be a movie star? Are you trying to be a celebrity? I get it. It's his brand. And that's what it is. Today, everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. That's why they do everything that they're doing. You and I do the show. We don't want to be celebrities. We want to take it, like the whole thing. The name of the show is Unsanctioned, right? So we want to take it to these politicians. We want to fight with them. And how do you do it? Through media, right? And that's how we're doing it. But the sheriff, he's not just some, he's not two jokester journalists like you and me doing this job. He's a sheriff. And how can you respect your sheriff when he's pretending that he's like beating people down and arresting them? Everybody knows that that's not genuine. Everybody knows. Maybe he did it, but my point is that's not genuine. That's not what a sheriff is supposed to be doing. Okay, you want to take part? What happens if the sheriff gets shot in Osceola County? Does that bring pride to the streets of Osceola County or to our community? Or is there any benefit? What happens if that cop beats you up? Does that provide any benefit to the community? If you're a sheriff, do the job of the sheriff, and locking people up is not it. Being a movie star is not it. So I'm not opposed to Marcos Lopez. I don't think that he's a bad sheriff. He's getting these guys off the street, which are a menace to our roads. Okay. I mean, it's silly. I mean, I wish we could go back to the day of real men doing real things.
I'll just say this. I like to see that I can see they are doing their job.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that I have the ability to see that. Is it a commercial? Yeah, it is. It sure is. But I do like the fact that it's sort of transparent. I'm not going to say completely transparent, because stories that we've covered on this show about that sheriff's office that prove that it's
that have not been, right? So are they transparent? No. In fact, look what it did to them. It basically got them sued. And you know what? I speculate that guy who got burned up is going to win. Why? Because they were filming it, trying to make a Rambo movie out of themselves. And now they're going to get sued. And you know who's going to pay for it? The citizens of Osceola County are going to pay $75 million for this kid to be riding dirt bikes on the street and not giving a crap because he can pay a lawyer to get himself out of it. With the $75 million from the public of Osceola County. Why? Because they were filming this. So at the end of the day, if you had an extra cop, an extra hand, another thing, would it make a difference? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, this next story is really crazy, John. Woman.
Who am I to double guess the sheriff, right?
Right. This woman has been sentenced to 30 months in jail for a plot to have Osceola County Jail inmates kill her family.
Wow.
Yes, I did say that. And this woman right here, I cannot pronounce her first name, so I'm just going to say her last name. Inaru. She is 31. She pleaded guilty, no contest, on January 8th to charges including 3 counts of criminal solicitation to commit murder in the first degree. That's what the court records show. Deputies got word in December of 2022 that Inaru, already an inmate at the Osceola County Jail, had solicited 2 other inmates in the alleged murder for hire plot. Investigators said that Inaru was threatening her family members and asked the inmates if they knew anyone who could murder her parents and grandparents, claiming she would then receive an inheritance of about $2. Inaru had also allegedly been using social media to stalk the assistant state attorney prosecuting her cases, saying she wanted him to suffer, didn't care if his family died too, according to her arrest warrant. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office then sent an undercover detective posing as an inmate into the jail in January of 2023. Inaru reportedly expressed her dislike of the assistant state attorney and belief in several conspiracy theories, but denied attempting to hire a hitman. However, deputies said that when they interviewed her later, she admitted to trying to hire someone to murder her family. Wow.
Craziness. I mean, what I wonder how much she was offering. $2 million $2 million isn't even that much money anymore. I mean, you should have at least compiled 10 million so that you would be set up for life. But in all seriousness, this is a what a statement on our society today. You know, the value of life is just gone, right? We just don't value life in this society. And this is somebody clearly mentally ill, because somebody who's not, even someone who wants to kill somebody, but who's not mentally ill, is not so dumb that they go around begging people to kill everybody, right? In a jail, which is under surveillance 24/7. So this is clearly someone that's mentally ill. And as much as I joke about it, it's very sad. It's a sad statement that we have people doing this. And if her family has money and they've abandoned her, probably because this is a very difficult, she's, has a difficult relationship with her family, but you scream that these people are all in pain, right? And this kid, this young woman is in pain. How old did it say she was?
31.
Clearly she's, well, she looks younger than that. But she looks like she's in pain. I'm sure her family's in pain. Her grandparents are in pain. Everybody's probably suffering over this. And it's just a sad testament to society. And it's the same issues that lead to that, predators on children and stuff like that. It's just terrible. And the only way that we can get away from it is, as you said it earlier in the show, we got to get closer to God and further away from all this terrible stuff.
That's exactly what we're talking about. From God, that the less value we put on human. That right there. They never said how she landed in jail in the. I didn't go back and up, and I probably should have. I wish I had, but obviously, and I've said this before.
It's not good.
This plays into the mental health crisis that we have going on across the nation.
Yes.
We need institutions, and I hope President Trump brings back mental institutions to our country, because we, especially predators, like this woman here who make $2 million by having some family who belong in a.
Yeah. I mean, I would pay $2 million just to, have a 20-minute conversation with my dad. And this person is trying to kill her family for $2 million inheritance. It's, you're 100% right. It's the mental illness right now going on in the country that is a crisis, and across the world. And that's exactly what we need to be addressing. God only knows what, I think we do know what it comes down to, how we can help it. What a week.
Yeah,
what a week in Florida politics.
John, one more story and that's it. And this is a surefire sign that small town life in St. Cloud is over.
Uh-oh, I didn't hear this story in prep.
Let's hear. Sign that it's over. Work continues on the new high school construction in Osceola County. This will be the third high school in St. Cloud. Watch this.
Osceola County is now getting a new high school. Crews recently broke ground on the project.
Yeah, right now the school does not have an official name, so it's known as High School AAA. District leaders say the purpose, though, is to get the growth catching up with the amount of schools. It's expected to hold about 2,500 students.
This is going to be supporting the students who live here in East Osceola County, that live in St. Cloud, part of Harmony. We're going to allow them to come here to this school.
It's expected to be open for the 20.
Yeah, well, there's other schools too. There's other schools that are going to come. I think that this is building these schools that cost $150 million is the wrong thing. I tell you, it's the wrong thing. It basically benefits the GCs and all these big construction companies that spend all this money, back making this build. I mean, with other subcontractors and everything, and it's just not the right thing. It's not the right thing. I've come to that realization in retrospect.
I mean, John, for me, it's just another sign that sooner or later I will stop being Lord Cloud. I'll be Tom Lord else, which is bad because I spent my entire life in St. Cloud. I grew up here. I love this. I don't.
Yeah. The worst part is that if you could develop, because okay, nobody's going to stop growth, right? But if you could turn St. Cloud into somewhere else, it certainly wouldn't be like East Colonial Drive, right? Or West Colonial Drive. And that's what they're doing to St. Cloud. They're turning St. Cloud into West Colonial Drive or East Colonial Drive in Orlando. And that's the worst part of the city, right? I mean, that's the worst part of it. That's not what you want it to look like. But these county commissioners in Osceola County are so dead in the brain that they have nothing, no imagination, no innovation, no vision for a future in Osceola that they can be proud of. They're trying to create Detroit. They want Detroit and Poinciana. They want East Colonial and St. Cloud. They just want to destroy the entire county, so they sap all of its resources, which is the land. And because the county commissioners are landowners and real estate people and developers, they're all together on it. It's a huge victimization of the community of Osceola County. It's horrendous. Yeah.
Hey, John, that is the.
Woo! I don't even see a timeline. What's our
minutes,
time?
hour and 40.
Okay, so we went super long tonight, but we had a long news, an hour-long discussion on the battle between between Governor DeSantis and the legislature. If you joined us afterwards, because we are at that number, I can't remember exactly, but we're pretty close to that number, breaking the record for Unsanctioned America that we just had recently. But go back and watch that. I think that's the most important story going on in the state right now. We love you. We appreciate you. Please like and share the show. Let your friends know. If you have any story ideas, make sure you reach out to us. On behalf of myself, former school board member John Arguello, my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord, God bless you, and we will see you next week.